Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is kicking around this idea of delaying the election. This came out on NPR July 30th, 2020. Trump floats delaying the election. It require a change in law. First of all, Donald Trump do not have the authority to change the election. He does not have that. But I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to this audio from NPR.
Idea of delaying November's presidential election. He did this in a tweet. We are obliged to note, not being critical here, just stating a fact, that this is the kind of claim the president often makes, which helps him dominate the news, and then nothing ever comes of it. Still, we are obliged also to note it's unusual that a sitting president repeated false claims about the security of mail-in balloting and then wrote, quote, delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Three of them. NPR's Miles Parks covers election security and will help answer the questions. Hi there, Miles.
Hi, Steve.
Can the election be legally delayed?
It can't. Not in the way that the president seems to be suggesting here. There's no sort of executive authority that the president has over federal elections, which a lot of people say is a really good thing about our election infrastructure. I just got off the phone with a law professor at NYU who called the tweet virtually impossible. Because basically, what you would need to actually delay the election would be legislation that would pass Congress, which is almost impossible in our current political structure. You think about the Democratic-controlled House. Would all of those lawmakers be able to get on board with the delay of an election? Then it would have to go through the Senate, pass the filibuster. You'd need to get 60 votes in the Senate, and then also have that presidential support. It's just highly unlikely, considering how much, obviously, Democrats want this election to happen.
Yeah, presidential elections have been at the start of November since the 1840s. Now, I want to note the president in this tweet objected to universal mail-in balloting. He then gave an exception. He said absentee balloting is fine, which I guess he has to say because people know now that he himself has voted by mail absentee. But then he said this widespread mail-in balloting that people are talking about is insecure. What makes election officials confident that it is secure?
Well, there's all sorts of safeguards that election officials point to that both the president and Attorney General William Barr, kind of conveniently leave out when they question the security of mail voting. You've got barcodes on most mail ballots that make sure that the people sending it in are actually the people who requested them. There's also the fact that there's signature verification, which is a really highly successful way to kind of weed out bad ballots or fake ballots, not to mention the fact that you would need to fraudulently get a ballot actually cast and counted. It would have to match the exact paperweight. You'd have to make sure the ballot style was correct for the specific county. The scanners that the election officials have to read ballots will not read any ballot that doesn't match all of those highly specific and very unique aspects of the ballot. It just sounds, when you talk to election administrators about this sort of plot, this idea that counterfeit mail ballots could happen, most of them just almost laugh it off.
Sure, not that it's impossible. People counterfeit money too, but their argument is that there are security measures against it. We are, though, in this unusual situation where states are looking to lean a lot more on mail-in ballots than they have in the past. What effects might the president's warning have on the election itself, even if it doesn't get delayed, as he suggested?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of worries that these constant questions about the election's integrity could ruin people's confidence in it. And we know that over the last 20 years, Americans' confidence in federal elections, that their votes are counted accurately, has been kind of slowly on the decline. The other potential issue here is that could President Trump's questions here potentially fire up Democrats? Democrats have been using the concept of voter suppression in their fundraising emails for the past 4 years. And so there's the question of, do these questions potentially hurt President Trump politically?
Okay, NPR's Miles Parks, thanks so much.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you hear, he has to go through Congress and the Senate. He can suggest this all he wants, but this is what he put out on Twitter. So he tweeted this July 30th, 2020 at 8:46 a.m. The universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good. 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history, which mail-in ballots don't mean the whole thing is going to be fraudulent. So, but this is what he's trying to imply. It will be the great embarrassment to the USA, delayed the election until people can properly, secure, and safely vote. Well, I don't know what that means. You mean everybody get in line and use the same voting machines over and over and get COVID? Is that what you mean? I don't know how you're going to do that. Trump then said at a press conference at the White House in the afternoon that he actually does not want a date change, as he called it, but also offered several minutes worth of comments about how he argues this year's practices aren't reliable. They'll be fraudulent, they'll be fixed, and they'll be rigged, the president said, of the procedures of the election in which he's seeking a second term. Well, I don't know how it's automatically fraudulent. You know, what we're seeing has never been done in the country. So how can it automatically be fraudulent? That's what I want to know. It's never been done before. You don't have nothing to compare it with, where you got to consider the whole country doing a mail-in ballot. Many of Trump's claims about voting by mail are not accurate, but also does not have the power himself to move the date of the election, which was set by the 1845 federal law, placing it the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. So, like they said in the audio, the date, only way it could be moved is by Congress. And we know that I don't think they're going to move the date. They'll just make provisions for voting to be a different way in the country. All right, so neither side supports the idea, which it became clear over the day between Trump post on Twitter and his later comments at the press conference. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell reportedly agreed in an interview that the current date is set in stone on Thursday, and top Democrats also reject the idea of rescheduling. It's virtually inconceivable that the presidential election would be delayed. Okay, so, I don't really think they will change it. All right, so Rep. Ralph Nadler, he also posted a tweet on July 30th, 2020 at 9:54 a.m. Let's be clear, Trump does not have the ability to delay the election. Our elections are enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution also says that if the date of the election is to be changed, it must be changed by Congress. So I think Trump is trying to use this fraudulent argument just to invalidate, the election, and then he should stay as president because it was not valid. And I don't think that's going to work. I'm just saying I don't think that's going to work. Americans have voted during the Civil War, in the midst of the Great Depression, in the shadows of world wars, and in the wake of terrorist attacks. Said in a statement, Americans will stand united to vote this November. Even if the election delay were agreeable to Congress, it's not clear when it would have to be rescheduled in order for Americans to safely vote, as Trump says. Delaying voting past December also would require a constitutional amendment adjusting the timelines for members of Congress and the new presidential administration to be sworn in. That's an erroneously high bar and lengthy process. It certainly is unimaginable under the current circumstances. Additionally, there is no nationwide turn to universal mail in voting, and as much as half of the electorate is still expected to cast ballots in person. And while Trump draws a while Trump draws an distinction between mail-in and absentee voting, there is essentially no difference. Yeah, I mean, I don't see no big difference either. The only difference is you're just going to have a lot more people mailing in votes than, the usual people that do absentee ballots. Trump tweeted, so he also tweeted the worst ever recorded quarterly performance of the American economy. Well, that's to be expected. There's still a lot of people out of work. Businesses are still not open that closed back in March. And some of the businesses that reopened have to close all over again. So, I would expect the second half to be equally as bad. So there's not much Trump can do as far as delaying the election. But you see where he stands. I think he wants to delay it. Number one, we know Trump is not doing well in the polls. He's not doing well in leading this country in COVID-19. And they said behind the scenes he knows he's losing, you know, but there's always a chance he could still win, depending on who put those mail in ballots in the mail. But we shall see. That's the only thing we can do. It's a sit and wait thing until November comes. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.